What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today I want to pull up a chair and I want to address something I've seen quite a bit in the comments on videos and some of the DMs I've gotten on social media, which is this idea of Shikamaru being Hokage during the events of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. It came out of nowhere, and that it makes no sense for him to be the 8th Hokage, which is why in today's video I want to attempt to put this whole discussion to bed once and for all and explain why the people who are up in arms over Shikamaru being Hokage and going so far as to say that this is a writing inconsistency for the character are to be respectful, because I don't want to offend anybody. You're reaching harder than Nobara fans in Jujutsu Kaisen, where they're reaching trying to explain how she's going to come back in the future. So the first thing we have to address right away is the fact that Shikamaru being Hokage is something that shouldn't take anyone by surprise, because it is something foreshadowed multiple times in the Naruto manga, to the point where one could argue the narrative was literally spoon-feeding us the fact that this was going to happen at some point in the story. I'm not sure if it's because, unfortunately, the Naruto community is going the route that Dragon Ball did in the 2000s and early 2010s, where you had a lot of fans that just played the video games and they watch key fights on YouTube and they say, hey, I'm all caught up, which led to a bunch of ill-informed Dragon Ball fans heading into Dragon Ball Super's anime in the mid-2010s, which led to a lot of people being completely off the mark because they didn't understand the characters. But I'll start discussing that stuff on my KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN channel. That way we can keep this on track. Now, I know from the comments there are a surprising number of people who just started Naruto with Boruto, or they played the Ninja Storm games and then they jumped right into the Naruto sequel Boruto. But even if that's the case, all throughout Boruto, Naruto Next Generations, the narrative was making it clear to you that after Naruto, the next Hokage was likely going to be Shikamaru if there was going to be an 8th Hokage selected. In order to look at why Shikamaru was a logical choice, we have to go back over the foreshadowing that we have regarding Shikamaru being destined to be Hokage. And I use the word destined for a reason, because this was always going to be his destiny when you look back at his character. Just as Naruto was always going to be destined to take the darkness out of the heart of Sasuke. Just as there was nobody but Naruto who could pull Sasuke out that darkness, there was nobody fit to follow Naruto from his generation to be Hokage except for Shikamaru, which, sorry to the Konohamaru fans, but that boy's never gonna be Hokage. He's like a three-legged blind horse trying to run a race when it comes to being Hokage. If you bet money on him, you're foolish. Now, our first sign that Shikamaru was always going to be Hokage goes as far back as Naruto chapter 107, where Asuma, the son of the 3rd Hokage, literally tells us that Shikamaru isn't just a genius, but when it comes to strategy, despite Shikamaru only being 12 years old and Asuma being a grown shinobi, 23 years old at the time, Asuma was never able to outsmart Shikamaru in any strategy games, which shocked Kurenai because Asuma was regarded as one of the elite shinobi in Konoha at that point in time. In chapter 109, a very noticeably shocked Kurenai states that Shikamaru, in terms of strategy, would have had an assured victory had that been a mission setting. And most importantly, something that often gets overlooked, we see Orochimaru in the same chapter pretending to be the Kazekage, stunned, wide eyes at what he just saw with Shikamaru. There's silence in words. You don't have to actually hear Orochimaru be shocked in this moment, because you see it on his face. And the fact that Kotetsu and Izumo both state that Shikamaru had a natural talent for completing a mission while reducing danger to those under his command is another sign he had the makings of a leader, a reluctant leader, but nonetheless a leader, which is why the 3rd Hokage in that same chapter has a proud smile on his face when he's watching Shikamaru, and that's why he made Shikamaru Chunin. In chapter 235, we see him learn the lesson of what it means to be a leader, with Temari giving him a bone-chilling assessment of what it means to be a leader, and Shikamaru's own father telling him that if he truly cares about his friends, then he'll become the leader in the future who realizes his friends are going off in danger, but him making the call when they go into that danger will always be the reason they survive, whereas they will perish under the counsel of another leader. In chapter 328, Asuma flat out tells Shikamaru that he has the razor-sharp instincts of a true shinobi and has what it takes to be Hokage, but he never pursued the position. But he never stated he would never take the position, only that he would, quote, try to avoid it. meaning if there was a requirement or a necessity for him to take the job, he would take it begrudgingly, but he would take it, which led to Asuma telling Shikamaru that the king is the children of the village that they protect because the children are the future of the village. Later on in the 4th Great Ninja War, Temari, the daughter of the 4th Kazekage and the sister of the 5th Kazekage, someone who knows all too well the qualities of a Kage, a leader of a ninja village, what those qualities actually are, Temari flat out says that Shikamaru wouldn't have just made a good Hokage, but in the manga she specifically says that he would have made a quote outstanding Hokage. That's a very strong word. She could have said good, she could have said future Hokage, she said an outstanding Hokage. Just in Naruto's manga, we've had multiple characters take an interest in his potential as a leader of men, and two very qualified people, Asuma and Temari, children of Kages themselves, flat out saying that he had what it took to be a Kage, much like their fathers. That's a very strong cosign, but the strongest cosign is via the epilogue novels set after the Ninja War, in particular some of the ones that Naruto Shippuden never adapted at all or completely. One example of the latter being the Shikamaru Hiden story, A Cloud Drifting in Silence. We learned that Kakashi might have had Shikamaru start out as a desk worker in the Hokage office, but when it came to S-rank missions and things of importance, he had Shikamaru right there sitting in on meetings and helping him come up with decisions, and had Shikamaru run the Shinobi Union, which we saw in the Naruto Shippuden anime episodes for that Shikamaru Hiden novel adaptation, where everyone on that council, they were Kage candidates for each of the 5 villages, with 3 of those people on those panels being the future Boruto Tsuchikage, the Boruto Mizukage, and the Boruto Raikage. Notice Shikamaru was the only Konoha person in there. Later on and down the timeline, we learned that Shikamaru was viewed by other countries as a potential 7th Hokage or even a potential 8th Hokage. In the Gar Hiden story, A Sandstorm Mirage, which Naruto Shippuden never adapted into the anime, one of the big concerns that the elders of the Sand Village had with Gar allowing Temari to marry Shikamaru was due to the fact that, number one, Temari being the child of Rasa, the 4th Kazekage, meant that any child she might have with Shikamaru stood the possibility of carrying the gene for Magnum release, and as we all know, ninja villages are very protective of their Kekkei Genkai, but also it was because there was a concern that Shikamaru would eventually be Hokage, and the elders, still stuck in their ways from the old way of thinking, feared that a future Hokage marrying the daughter of the Kazekage would place Konoha over the Sand Village if the treaty between the nations ever fell apart. Something that Gar strongly argued was not a possible scenario, in that Konoha could be trusted, but he never shot down the idea of Shikamaru one day being Hokage. It's something he considered possible, something that is continuing the strong pattern of what we've seen, people directly linked to a Kage or people that are Kages themselves acknowledging Shikamaru as someone with the chops to be Hokage one day. This continues on in Boruto Naruto Next Generation, where the moment that Kawaki's brought into the village, Shikamaru is the only one with the grounds to directly challenge Naruto's decision to have Kawaki stay in Konoha and not be locked up. He was directly at odds with Naruto on this, and following the Naruto versus Jigen battle, when Naruto's location was nowhere to be confirmed and everyone was freaking out, Shikamaru was the one who stepped in, acting with the authority of the Hokage, confining Kawaki to the Uzumaki household for questioning. When Naruto had his mental breakdown after seeing Boruto get killed by Kawaki, Shikamaru was the one telling him that it was his duty as Hokage that was more important than his duty as a father, saying, hey, we got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take down Code. Kawaki has him on the ropes. We need to help Kawaki right now. The hell with Boruto. He chose his fate. Honor his decision, and let's go ahead and pack up Code. Which, given how many L's Code ends up taking in the series, they probably could have killed Code in that moment. So when Naruto was incapable of making the decision, Shikamaru was the one who tried to step in that moment, much like Asuma foretold. When dealing with the threat of Code being out there, Boruto being revived, and still having the threat of Momoshiki hijack his body, which, reminder, Momoshiki can hijack his body, he just can't resurrect using his body, and Kawaki being the strongest person in the Hidden Leaf Village at that point, Naruto deferred to Shikamaru's judgment to have Team 7 placed in that condo under constant surveillance once Ada and Damon arrived. When Naruto was believed to be dead, he was the one leading the charge to hunt down Kawaki, and afterwards when the omnipotence Shinjutsu was casted, he was the one leading the charge to hunt down Boruto because his memories of Boruto and Kawaki got switched. The signs have always been there for the fact that Shikamaru was going to be the one who stepped up to fill the Hokage role in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which has happened, just as Asuma predicted. He said he wouldn't actively seek the job. He might even try to avoid it, but inevitably he would be a Hokage, which is why multiple times in Boruto Naruto Next Generations, he was shown stepping up when the situation called for. Now you're probably wondering, hey, why didn't Kakashi return as Hokage? That makes the most sense right there. Why isn't Kakashi Hokage? Why isn't someone like Tsunade or even Sakura taking the position of Hokage? Well, good news for you. I go in extensive detail about that in the video you see linked on the screen here.